Somebody said Trump said something interesting.
Literally, it just shows how hard it is to clean up, even after you close it. It shows the price that we paid under Joe Biden.
It's the hardest thing when you think of it. You know, inflation we've solved. It's done. We have it good. Where prices are coming way down. They were just saying in Iowa the fuel is $1.95. Did you hear that? Somebody said $1.85, but it was $3.50, $4.50 just a year and a half ago.
He's so funny, dude. Remember, he believes this is true. Further evidence to the point that Donald Trump can't lie is that once he saw the murders of Renee Good and Alex Pretti, he was like, ooh, that's not good. I don't like that. My tummy hurts. He relies entirely on what he's told by the stooges around him. And as soon as his, he encounters like a counterfactual, he either rejects it outright, or if he can't reject it outright, he's like, oof, and immediately changes his mind.
You look at eggs, you look at groceries, it's all down. Everything's come down. Do you notice they don't mention affordability anymore? That's like an old-fashioned word. They good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists. These are paid agitators. These people aren't normal, like, OG, that, you know, they're incensed about anything. How do you get incensed when you go into a state and you're taking criminals out? You're taking monsters out. Murderers. You know, we had 11,800.
Guarantee you he got OG from J.D. Vance. 100%. 100%.
188 murderers let into our country by other countries, by Biden with his open border stupid policy. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You talk about bad policy. Open borders where people were coming, so the whole world, the Congo, Venezuela, all over the world, they're letting people in from their prisons and they're feeding them into the United States. And they're murderers and they're drug dealers and they're everything else you can think of, every bad name you can think of. And they let them in by the millions. We closed the border. You know, we have nobody coming.
Boring and pretty much what you would expect.
And now it's got very little crime.
But it's gone very differently in Minneapolis.
Well, it has. It's the only place.
And now the message is out that Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Commander Bovino is supposedly leaving Minneapolis along with some CBP agents. Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you know, you make little changes. You know, Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand.
God, that's fun. This is the closest we'll ever get to an admission of fault here. He is literally a medieval monarch. It's almost comical if it wasn't current. Yeah, this is the closest we've ever gotten to this in the modern age. Just a completely mentally out there, unhinged, no holds barred monarch with water in his brain. It's beautiful in a way.
You know, the daughter was, she was, I don't know if you could say radicalized, maybe not. I don't know. But I hate to see it. I hate to see that.
Yeah, see? Like, he can only say stuff he thinks is true. He saw the murder of Renee Good, and he was like, oh, oof, I don't know about that one. That looks pretty bad, actually. He doesn't have this like ideological interest in blood and fire, you know? He just doesn't. He likes TV, and that was bad TV.
It's pretty unusual, but nobody knows when they saw the gun, how they saw the gun, everything else. Bottom line, it was terrible. Both of them were terrible. The other was terrible, too. And I'm not sure about his parents, but I know her parents were big Trump fans. Makes me feel bad anyway. But, I mean, I guess you could say even worse. They were tremendous Trump people, Trump fans. And, you know, the daughter was, she was, I don't know if you could say radicalized.
Just an incentive for all of you guys watching this right now. But if you go out there onto the streets of Minneapolis and you fight under Commissar Stancil for the freedom of America, a lawful protest, obviously. But if you ever fell to you know, an illegal act of violence by an ICE agent, this is how I would talk about you, give or take. I'd be like, oh, it was very sad, especially because, you know, they were a viewer. Yes, they had a orange name. It could have been a yellow name, but it was an orange name. Orange name's still pretty good, you know, could have been a yellow.
Maybe radicalized, maybe not. I don't know. But I hate to see it. I hate to see that.
You bring up the term.
It's pretty unusual.
It's crazy. If Trump let himself get conscripted in Vietnam, he might have the stomach for slaughter. I disagree. I think that if Trump had gone to Vietnam, he would have burned out on all of this. His whole like worldview is sustained by having always been away from the front of the fight. Always people have to keep information from him. You know, I think that I don't think he could have mentally handled the Vietnam War. I think the horrors of the war probably would have made him go like, yeah, I'm just going to be like a rich son or whatever. You know, his whole worldview is based on him being like the most privileged, cushy bottomed guy in the world.
And the entire country is talking about what happened this past weekend in Minnesota. You've already spoken about it. Everyone watching has seen the video. Everyone has an opinion. I'm curious what you thought when you first saw that video.
Well, I think the whole thing is terrible. I don't like the fact that he was carrying a gun that was fully loaded, and he had 2 magazines with him, and it's pretty unusual. But nobody knows when they saw the gun, how they saw the gun, everything.
And the entire country is talking about what happened.
Hates guns.
I would have to imagine that guardrails would be an understatement of what would happen should you lose the House or the Senate. There's been talk of impeachment. You've been through this before. You've been through it multiple times.
I'm a professional.
What will happen? What will happen if Democrats take the House or the Senate?
They'll probably try and impeach me. They'll say he went to Iowa and he spoke unfairly to people and he's not supposed to do that. Let's impeach him, okay? And the people in Iowa would say, how did he get impeached? He just did an interview with Will, who has very good ratings, okay? But they just did an interview with Will. Now, they'll find something. There'll be something, I made the wrong turn at an exit and let's impeach him. No, they did that before. They impeached me on a perfect phone call. Turned out they impeached me twice. And by the way, I won the impeachments very easily and quickly.
That's true.
But they impeach. They're very nasty people. You know, they have bad policy, really bad, but they do 2 things. They stick together, not stupid. Some are, because, you know, that's true with everything, right? But they stick together, but they have really bad policy.
I want to come back to Minnesota in just one moment, but let's go to those guardrails. I'd imagine you do not feel like you need guardrails in this moment. You talk about the investment.
No, I don't need guardrails. I don't want guardrails. Guardrails would hurt us because, you know, we're free enterprise people. The people in this room, the people of Iowa, are free enterprise. That's why we won it so big 3 times in a row.
I would have to imagine that guardrails would be an under.
You will.
I want to come back to Minnesota in just one moment, but let's go.
So they had good crime numbers, believe it or not. And that's all working out. You know, we have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else, and we'll.
Thinking about it, isn't it kind of weird how anti-gun Trump actually is? Nah, he's a New Yorker. He's never been a gun guy. Never been a gun guy. Not even once. He's just never cared. Like so many other issues. Like, okay, in most ways, Trump has remained ideologically the same New York Democrat that he has always been his entire life. The whole shift over the past 10 years has just been a way of transferring his personal narcissism and megalomania into a project where fascists can mold his talking points and see themselves reflected in him, and he plays into that because it gets the applause. But he's just never cared about guns. He's never cared about guns.
One number that's bad, can you tell? Is there one number that's bad? There's not one.
Do you agree with the assessment from some of your own officials that Alex Pretti is a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
Well, I haven't heard that, but certainly he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. But hey, look, bottom line, everybody in this room, we view that as a very unfortunate incident, okay? Right.
They are really throwing Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, and Kristi Noem under the bus.
Everyone, unless you're a stupid person, very, very unfortunate incident.
It's really, really, really bad messaging. He's like focusing on the wrong things here, right? He's basically saying the statements made by my officials on him being a domestic terrorist or an assassin are wrong. My problem is that I don't really like guns, which is like wildly bad if you're trying to appeal to Republicans. You know what I mean? It's like you should be doubling down on the cruelty, not on the anti-Second Amendment stuff. He's doing the opposite.
I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. And
the way when he keeps saying, he's done this like a dozen times now. When he says he doesn't like that the guy had a gun, he's not saying like, I didn't like the fact that he brought a gun to a protest or anything. Like he's not couching it in some kind of specific criticism of, oh, you were menacing police or threatening police. It's just, I don't like guns. Soup brain? Well, it's honest. He doesn't like guns.
I say that's a very unfortunate.
Maybe he thinks the context is implied. I don't think he thinks that much, to be honest with you. But he's been doing it a lot. You can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. It's a very unfortunate thing. You know, I don't know. It just, to me, it comes across like he's really not couching his language.
President, some of your own administration officials have labeled Alex Pretti.
By the way, this is ABC fake news, this one. She hasn't asked me a good question in years. I think a nice woman, but I don't really like her too much. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Some of your own officials have labeled Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist. This is ABC fake news. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Trump might not actually know that Miller said this. Like, why would he? It's not like Trump browses Twitter. He's only exposed to the information people want him to be exposed to, his like inner circle. He might actually not know. What it makes me think is that everyone around him is trying to do this pivot quietly. They're all trying, like, oh shit, Trump actually doesn't like it this much. Trump doesn't actually want infinite death. Trump does not approve of his chud son going haywire in the Twin Cities, you know? And they're all trying to like quietly reorient around him a little bit. That is so interesting. It really is a medieval court, for sure, for sure.
Clearly your base is with you, strong and supportive. They're very
stronger than, by the way, our base is with us. I think they're the best poll numbers, the real poll numbers. I think we have the best poll numbers we've ever had. But think of it, if I were to run again, would anybody be happy? So we have the best poll numbers we've ever had. Thank you all very much.
see the dollar's value decline more. Would that be
helpful? No, I'd want it to be just seek its own level, which is the fair thing to do. You could have it, I could have it go up or go down like a yo-yo. I'll give you an example. Unemployment. I could create the greatest unemployment numbers or employment numbers ever. All I have to do is hire 3 million people and put them into the federal government, and you have 10 people, you know, for one job, right?
That's right.
And what we've done is we've cut the federal employees, and they've gone to the private.
You know, one of the biggest bits of economic misinformation I remember hearing when I was younger, and it was perpetuated by liberals, not by conservatives, was that job numbers don't count if it's government hiring. Why the f not? They aren't getting employed. They aren't getting paychecks. Work isn't being done. If you employ 1 million people to do like renovation work or fix our roads or highways, how is that fake just because the money is being run through the federal? That's completely fake. What with the idea that jobs are only real and economically important if they're private sector jobs is insane. But I remember hearing that from the liberal econ types, which like, what the f, you know?
Sector. But if I wanted, I could hire 1 million people tomorrow, put them in the federal government, and she'd be writing a story. Unbelievable employment. Unbelievable employment. But we have great unemployment numbers.
Yeah.
I think they're great. Is there one number that's bad? Can you tell? Is there one number that's bad? There's not one.
Do you agree with
Would you like to see the dollar's value decline more?
He's gonna backhand that child. Yeah, he kept looking like he was swinging around there.
David Ullman, he's lived in Iowa for a long time. He's in agriculture. He does express concern about the tariffs and the effect it's had on farmers in Iowa.
Well, it's going to be just don't forget, they just kicked in. And it's going to, and we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. And we've kept a lot of people out that want to come in and rip off for years, it was in the reverse. China would charge us tariffs.
You know what I wish? I wish the fact that Trump promised everyone tariff rebate checks that are never, ever going to happen would have the same kinds of consequences for him that Biden suffered for, like, being misrepresentative with the second COVID check, where he said it was going to be a $2,000 stimulus check, but then it ended up being $600 to make up for a total of $2,000 plus the $1,400 under Trump, which was also stupid, by the way. If you say $2,000, people expect a new $2,000 check. Obviously, like, that was dumb and dishonest. But Trump promised a $5,000 check from tariff rebates, and that shit has not happened.
Countries which are just
nor will it.
I've totally reversed it. Japan gave us $550 billion. South Korea is supposed to give us $350 billion.
Supposed to, huh? Watching Trump speak about this publicly, the main thing I'm thinking, the main thing going through my head is that they're all quietly trying to avoid having the finger pointed at them. Breaking Axios, Kristi Noem's language that Alex Pretti wanted to massacre federal agents was dictated to Noem and her department by the man most responsible for the controversial operation, Stephen Miller, Who is backing him, man? Genuinely, Miller is the biggest vulnerability in the administration, easily, because he's very active and outspoken. He's not like Pam Bondi, where he's just like hoping to not be noticed or whatever. But unlike J.D. Vance, who has ties to like Silicon Valley, and Marco Rubio, who's like a competent, you know, kind of neoconservative style fascist, Stephen Miller is outrageous. And like, where is he getting his backing from? I just feel like he's a really big vulnerability. He's not the most loyal guy to Trump. You know, he's not like Susie Wiles, whatever. He's not like a super, super, super close confidant. My guess is big money interests. I don't think that's true, though. The big money interest would be centered behind J.D. Vance, who's the next in line, basically, or behind Marco Rubio. Israel? I don't think so. Miller might be able to like bite his tongue when it comes to Israel, but the people he represents are not militantly Zionist. Isn't it one of Trump's kids that likes him? Yeah, probably. I think he's basically running on inertia from the first admin. The only assumption I have is that he is doing some phenomenal groundwork behind the scenes. Remember in that one press conference where a reporter alerted Trump to the fact that the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 against him, and Miller quickly responded saying, no, they didn't. It gives me the feeling that Miller is probably like, he must just be good at holding his seat, you know? He's like a vizier, but that can only go so far. Miller is probably backed by Thiel. Yeah, but you don't need Miller and J.D. Vance from his perspective. Wormtongue? Yeah. The idea of Noem being mad at him for like directing her to do something the administration would actually pivot away from is really funny. Noem on Monday night had a 2-hour meeting in the White House with Trump to discuss the matter. She's a loyal person and she wanted her voice heard, one source said. She made sure to convey her loyalty. Man, it's so bad in there, dude. Trump, in a brief like info break under Stephen Miller's direction, ICE does something bad enough that Trump catches wind of it and actually like clearly does not like it, and Noem has to spend 2 hours kissing the ring. I wonder if she sold Stephen Miller out. Oh my god, it's like Jesus, it's crazy in there, dude. They're not even like an administration. They're just like a group of grifters, neo-Nazis, and religious freaks all trying to like cling like little bits of power and hoard it for themselves. When did Noem feud with Homan? The acrimony so deep between Trump's border czar and his Homeland Security Secretary, the two officials barely speak or meet with each other. Wait, what's the relationship between Tom Homan and Miller? Because I guarantee you Miller gets along with Bovino. What's Homan's actual position? Border czar. The Biden admin was so tight-lipped it's crazy. Yeah, you really get a feel for why journalists love Trump and his admin so much, because it's the leakiest faucet in the world. It was so tough to get anything out of the Biden admin. We know Miller knows how to communicate to Trump, poster boards with circles and whatnot, and that his input is sought on basically every issue. I just want to know how much of Miller's baffling influence and longevity within the inner circle is being propped up from outside, and how much of it is being maintained through his own competence. That's what I'm curious about. Oh, I'm so curious. Is Miller connected to Steve Bannon? Then is there an Epstein tie? Dog, Stephen Miller was like 20 when Epstein was active. I saw this. I saw Ted Cruz trashing Trump. Trump's response, according to Cruz, "F you, Ted." Yeah. Trump was in a bad mood. Why was Trump in a bad mood? When was this? During 2 meetings last year. Okay, so this is older information. During his talks, Cruz cast Vance as a pawn of conservative podcaster Tucker Carlson. Cruz has accused Carlson of promoting anti-Semitism and an anti-Israel foreign policy in their well-publicized spats. Ted Cruz levels with the administration on some real talk, and his primary criticism is that J.D. Vance isn't pro-Israel enough.